Craig Wilson at techcentral.co.za, and today we're looking at the new range of Sony Vaio laptops, specifically the Z series, and in this case the Z217. It's the top of the range. It comes with a hefty price tag, but it also has rather a lot of processing power to justify that. Having a look at the actual unit itself, it's unbelievably light. It weighs in at 1.2 kilos, and it's incredibly thin. It's about a centimeter at its thickest point. It feels a bit like a toy, actually, but it's incredibly sturdy, and Sony tells us that it's made out of carbon fiber, even if it does feel a bit like plastic. On the left-hand side here, aside from the regular VGA cable, you see there's rather a large fan come heatsink, and that's because this particular model boasts a Core i7 processor. In fact, all of this range do. Some of them have the i5, but this being at top of the range has the i7. If we have a look on the right-hand side of the laptop, it's got a regular 3.5mm jack, and that's your audio in and out. Under this cover is an Ethernet connection. There's a full-sized HDMI out, which is a nice change from the mini ones we see so often. There's a regular USB port. And then there's a curious combination here, which is a USB 3/Thunderbolt port. And just next to that is the regular power cable. The other thing that makes this particularly interesting is how quickly it boots. And that, of course, has to do with the amount of processing power under the hood, and probably helped by the fact that this particular model comes with 8 gigs of RAM as standard. It also has two solid-state drives, 128 gigs each, and those are in a RAID 0 configuration that allows for things like incredibly speedy boots. As you can see, we're already just about up and ready to go. Now, one of the major problems that's faced devices like this for a long time has been the lack of onboard sort of graphics processing power. And Sony have sidestepped that by providing what they're calling a GPU dock. As you can see, it actually looks rather like a small portable optical drive, and that's essentially what it is. This particular one supports Blu-ray, but what it also has is an AMD Radeon 6650M graphics card, and that has 1 gig of onboard video memory, which makes for rather a potent combination when you attach it to the Vaio itself. The idea obviously here is that this would live in your office or at home, and you wouldn't necessarily cart it around with you, but it means that it bolsters the graphics processing power quite dramatically and turns this into a real option for people who want to be able to do gaming on their laptop or any particularly video-heavy work. What you do is just plug it in. There's a power connector, and while you do lose one of the USB 3/Thunderbolt ports if you plug it in, this isn't so much of a hassle as all of the major ports on the Vaio itself are duplicated on the rear of the dock. As you can see, the Vaio also has a particularly lovely display. It's a 1920 by 1080 display, and the colours are incredibly vibrant. It's really crisp, the detail's phenomenal. And in terms of interface, Sony have overlaid a dock of sorts at the top here that will look rather familiar to anyone who's used Apple products much. Right, once this dock is plugged in, you actually use the graphics card as if it were an onboard card. And so what we decided is, how else do you test it? Well, you throw the biggest game, the most demanding game at least, that you can think of at it. So we've got Crysis 2 installed on this machine, and we'll show you shortly just how impressive it looks. The other nice thing is the trackpad is fairly responsive, and it's slightly textured, which is particularly unusual. It's got standard left and right or alternate click buttons at the bottom, and as you can see, a fingerprint reader in the middle. The only complaint is that the trackpad could have been a little bit bigger, but it is very responsive, and it does support gestures, which you'll also be used to if you've used Macs much. As you can see, we're up and running here. While that's ongoing, I'll just tell you the keyboard is also phenomenal on this device. It's incredibly responsive, and it's one of the most pleasant typing experiences we've ever had on a laptop, ultra portable or otherwise. It's also backlit, which was one of the complaints against the former range of MacBook Airs, but that has of course been rectified now. So, what we've done with this particular version is we've cranked up all the settings we can. We've turned it up as high as we can, and let's have a look and see what it looks like. Even the load time is quite good and actually fantastic if you consider what sort of a device this is, and to see this sort of performance on a laptop is really phenomenal. Sony's also included a switch for the wireless settings and a couple of touch-based buttons that allow you to alter other features of it. Right. And as you can see, if we have a look around, there's not much in the way of lag. The rendering is absolutely phenomenal. All of the little details are flowing. There's a little bit of ghosting on some of them, but for a laptop, this is really, really astounding performance. And you can see that graphics card's being put to maximum use. Of course, we should tell you that the Sony comes with a price tag that matches its performance, and that this particular model retails for 29,999 Rand. That's right, it's a 5-figure beast, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and Sony have done really well. If you're looking for a high-performance device, you'd certainly do well to consider the Vaio Z series.